I think a lot of photographers, myself included, really struggle to push yourself to get out the door. And a lot of inspiration comes from being out and taking pictures and seeing things, and it's mostly the period of time that you spend trying to convince yourself to go and shoot street photography that becomes difficult. Sometimes you can be out there and not really know what you're trying to shoot. That's another problem, but getting yourself out the door, there's a few things you can do to accelerate your ass moving from the sofa. In this video, I'm gonna try and cover 3 things that really help me get out and start doing, from shaking things up a little bit to just the real basics of motivation when it comes to art. I hope it helps you to motivate yourself to leave the house and start doing shit even when it's really cold like right now. Step 1 is easy. I'm far away because I'm shooting a telephoto today. I've got 135mm on. If you know me at all, I shoot 28. This is well outside of my comfort zone. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a different lens group to what you're used to. It could just be shooting in a different particular setup, using a different camera, different film if you shoot film, shoot black and white if you don't shoot black and white. Changing up your gear does 2 things. 1, obviously it's exciting to use a new piece of kit and you get to spend some money and get a dopamine hit from that. But on the other hand, changing up your gear most of the time means that you also have to change your process. You have to change the way you're looking at things, the way you see, the way you're planning out your compositions. When I'm shooting telephoto, for example, I can't rely on packing stuff into the foreground and the background and layering the way that I do with the 24. But the 135, I have to be more subject driven. I have to find people that are interesting on their own, or I have to figure out ways to incorporate more chaos into a tighter composition. For you, it might be using a different camera that makes you shoot faster or slower, or pay more attention to your highlights. Or if you usually shoot digital, try shooting film, and then you'll be thinking about light differently. When you're forced to change up the way that you usually shoot because of gear, it can be quite reinvigorating. It's really fun to figure out how the hell to take a good picture on 135. Other photographers manage it all the time, but I haven't done it yet. Tip number 2, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm a content creator now, but watching other photographers take pictures, Jesus, it makes me want to get up off my ass. There are some videos on YouTube, Joel Meyerowitz, Winogrand, and watching them shoot makes me want to get up and leave the house like nothing else. It's contagious. This is why I recommend to beginners to spend some time shooting with other more experienced street photographers. Getting to watch someone get in the zone and the flow and, you know, be quick with their camera and sneaky and get the shots that you would never think of makes you go, it's about time I got out the house and started doing some of that. It's not just the big time like golden boy photographers either. Watching smaller photographers is really interesting, even people who've never shot before. The other weekend, I met up with an old friend in London. I gave her my camera after explaining why street photography exists and why it's not creepy or wrong. And it was really interesting watching what she saw and what she took pictures of. And some of the pictures that she took were actually quite good. I think it's similar with all forms of art and sports and every sort of hobby. Watching other people do it tends to make you want to do it. It can get a little addictive. Don't let it become doing by proxy. It needs to be controlled. I'm gonna watch this video of somebody taking street photos. I'm gonna absorb their brain juice through the interwebs, and then I'm gonna utilize it to make my own pictures that are their brain juice flavored. Okay. My third very cold tip for you is projects, which is a frightening word for street photography because a lot of the time in street photography, it's very random. You go out, you happen to see things that are interesting, and you take pictures of them. And it can be quite hard to self-assign a project, I've found. Giving yourself like a project for the day, and it doesn't have to be complicated, but giving yourself a project for the day gives you something to work off. Rather than going, maybe nothing interesting's happening today, you know, there's no explosions or riots or parades. Focus on one particular thing that you would like to try to capture. For me, sometimes it's hands. I want to get pictures of interesting hands doing interesting things. Sometimes it's cool shoes or hats or cars. It could be anything, but if you give yourself something to focus on, a little bit of a goal, and it doesn't have to be for a Satanta Books published work of art, it just has to be for the day. Giving yourself sort of like a mental focal point allows you to take some of the pressure off of hoping something pops out of the randomness, and it can kind of give your imagination and creativity a little bit of a rest, and you just notice things perceptively. If you're in a small town, for example, mailboxes. Some people have really interesting mailboxes. Go around, take pictures of all the mailboxes, And I guarantee you by the end of the day, you'll have a set of 4 you can post on social media that are kind of interesting. If you really like busy street scenes and you're in the middle of a city, maybe try to find interesting bags or people with pets or people in the middle of a sneeze. It doesn't have to be all you shoot that day, and you shouldn't restrict yourself to just those things that you're focusing on, but it will get you started. And once you've warmed up and taken some pictures of people picking their nose in a row, you'll start to notice other things and you'll start to get back in the zone and you'll get a little bit more confident, and then you'll take some good pictures. It's easier than it sounds, and I really encourage you to try this one out. If you've got other ideas about what things you could notice, especially in a different variety of settings, please let me know. Come on, light meter. Fucking hell. I hope this has been useful. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any tips for getting up and leaving the house, because we all need those right now. Go take some photos, and as always, stay hydrated and create art.